Hey guys, so I'm gonna try to make this fast because I dicked this one up the first time I did it, and made it way too long, and obviously I can't do it over 10 minutes. So, taking apart the Kershaw Leek, you need a T9 and T6 Torx bit, and the T6 is for the pivot screw, which is right here. So let's take this apart, and some people might have trouble taking it out. I had no problem. And then what we're going to want to do is take out the body screws, or the scale screws, or whatever the hell you want to call them, with the smaller bit. And what I found is you don't get these all the way out. They just unscrew from the left scale, and then they stay in the body spacer, and they just kind of sit there. So basically keep screwing or unscrewing until they just don't want to come out anymore. And before I do this and take it apart, before I do this, you want to make sure your knife is open. I found this to be a lot easier. You don't have parts flying everywhere. After you get the screws undone, you can then remove your scale, which also has your back spacer and screw, and no tension on your spring. I'm going to set this aside, and I'll get to that later. From this point, you can disengage your lock, lift, and you have this side, which this pivot does come off right here. If you remove the pocket clip, you can push it out. I haven't had to. There's like no real need for me to remove that. You can just clean around it. I then have stuck to this currently. I did not permanently stick them. They're just stuck there with some oil. Is the little washer, and then on the side a larger washer. The larger washer goes on this handle scale with the body lock, frame lock. Sorry. And basically, that's how you want to keep it. Anyway, I'm going to set those aside. You can clean those out. You do not have to remove the, usually right here there's the lock so it doesn't open in your pocket or anything. You can leave that on. Also, you can leave the pocket clip on. Getting to the part where everyone gets the most afraid is the assist open. Assist open's really easy. The back spacer slides right off, and as you can see, the back spacer's pretty simple, no threads or anything. Then you can just push out each screw. Okay, so each screw's out. And now you're left with a piece of metal and these little bars so that when you pull one, it kind of moves this one over here. You can lift this up, it'll come right off. Set that aside, and this is the brains to the whole operation. It's this little bar, and most likely it's packed in a bunch of grease that came from the factory that is dirty as hell now. Basically, I clean this whole thing out, oil and grease it, and oil and grease your bar. Set it back in, nice and gently. It should drop right in. Grab this, clean it, oil it. You don't have to oil it, but I oiled it. And then what you do is, this wide slot goes over this hole, and this big U goes over, sorry, not hole, but pin, and then this big U goes over this side of the pin. So it sits just like so, and then we'll slide into the groove that is right there. That's basically it. Then from there, you can toss your body spacer, which will have this groove, which goes right over that groove. It's pretty obvious. You could set that right on. Pick this back up, all as one piece. And this is what I prefer to do, is if you can, toss your middle finger right here, index finger right here, hold it together, and drop line it up and drop the backspacer screw through all three, and this will hold this kind of all together. Oops. Sorry, it's kind of hard to do on camera. Ow, I'm having a hard time. Come on. There we go. So then after you get basically those three in, it holds this bar or the cover and this lock right here in place. So for reassembly, after you do that for that scale, and if you took the pocket clip off, pocket clip will be like the last thing you put on. You have the pivot, which if you did take the pocket clip off, you can push out clean. If you did that, put the pivot back in, then put the large washer on that, then put the blade, which I like to put in the open position, back up, line it up on the lock, and put your small washer. And then what I like to do is hold this with my thumb and grab my one piece that I put together and kind of just line up the pivot area and the backspacer. Once you're doing this, then you can attempt to screw the backspacer in and the scales together, basically reassembling your knife. They should go in fairly easy. I had no problem taking it apart. This is a older knife. This is one of the first Leeks. Well, I shouldn't say first Leeks. This is one of the first newer Leeks. They've done a lot more to it. Anyway, just go through and retighten this all down. Tightens down real easily. And then all you have left is your pivot, which you drop right in. You could toss oil in your pivot area, which I have done. And what I do is I tighten my pivot all the way down, and then I back it out one full turn, and that gives me a, well, sorry, might have to loosen up a little bit more. And the thing is after you do this a few times, or after you take it apart, you'll have to open it and close it a few times, kind of get that spring coated and loosened up again. And it'll take a little bit, but then it'll start opening like, no problem, just like the factory, fast. And after a little bit of that, then you can tighten your pivot back down a little bit more, and from there kind of fine tune it where you like it. And that's about it. That's basics on taking apart your Kershaw Leek. And I want to thank, I can't think of his name right now. I'll put his link down in the description box or annotate it. He's a new sub, and I subbed to him. He's got a really cool channel. Got some katana stuff up. And, he gave me the idea for doing this. He wanted to know kind of how to do it, so here it is. Alright guys, this video is almost 10 minutes long, and I gotta go. Alright, thanks guys. Peace.